My Dad is a Chair. The title doesn't lie. My dad is a chair. To be specific, he's a fully upholstered, bright orange, angel accent living room chair. The kind with wooden legs you find in any three-piece suit from the 70s. He's pretty comfortable, truth be told. A little lumpy in places, but his padding is soft, warm too. He's always. There's also a telltale ba-thump, ba-thump, ba-thump coming from his back cushion. A steady rhythm at my lumbar to remind me I'm sitting in no ordinary chair. He wasn't always a chair. Until last year, he was Kevin the accountant, was 51, slightly overweight, and generally seemed to enjoy life as a human. He was married to my mom. He still is, but, well, as you can imagine, it's a little complicated right now. It was funny at first. He came home from work one day and just sat in the corner of the living room. When we'd ask him why he was sitting on the floor and not the $4,000 cream leather couch, he'd just smile and say, "It feels right here." It stopped being funny the morning he didn't go to work. Turns out, he hadn't slept the night before. He'd been watching a movie with Mom, but hadn't gone to bed with her. She left him sitting in his spot, unsuspicious of the "I'm not tired, I'll be up a little bit later" lie. She and I both begged him to get up, but he refused to move. Phoned in sick at work, the whole deal. Just spent the day sitting on the floor in his corner. We kept asking him what was wrong, why wouldn't he get up, except to use the bathroom. And he just kept saying, "No, no, this feels right." Mom phoned the doctor around the third day of this. He'd stopped eating or drinking. You see, stopped getting up to use the bathroom too. Surprisingly though, there weren't as many accidents as you'd think. Once he'd allow the last of the food and drink to leave him, it seemed to stop coming. We also didn't hear his belly growl despite going a day and a half without food. The doctor couldn't make sense of it. Their first guess was that it was psychosomatic, but that wouldn't explain the absence of digestive activity exposed by their stethoscope. They said they'd be back to take some blood samples in a few days after they liaised with some colleagues. Unfortunately, as I said, this was last year, 2020. We never heard back from the doctors, thanks to the virus that shall not be named. I guess guy with gut troubles who refuses to move is low on the priority list during a global pandemic. Somehow, Mom managed to wrangle long-term sick leave with Dad's company. Decades of loyal employeeism combined with Mom's attendance to every company barbecue, softball game, helped Mr. Bannerfrag by the unexplained stomach concern requiring hospitalization excuse. I'll never forget that phone call. At the time, Dad's losing his job was the worst case scenario for both of us. He'd always been the breadwinner. Neither of us could support ourselves without him. We'd lose the house in under a year. Dad didn't seem too perturbed by Mom's frantic pacing, or the lies she wormed through the phone to Mr. Bannerfrag. He just stared at the wall, serenely, hovering his butt half a foot off the carpet, balancing with his legs bent and his hands flat on the ground behind him. That night I fell asleep listening to Mom yelling at Dad. He never yelled back. We started noticing physical changes a few days later. That's when we realized this wasn't psychosomatic. Unfortunately, our shitty, best insurance deal on the market doctor wasn't picking up the phone. We'd get passive-aggressive emails informing us that they were waiting to hear back from colleagues. But that was it. This was not good, especially not when the joints in Dad's arms and legs had fused. The not goodness of Doctor's silence increased 1,000-fold when we sent photos of Dad's hands and feet flaking off like discarded spider husks the following week. Did the response change? No. We got a very snippy email about shortages on ICU wards and the critical international situation. Mom's shouting match with the chief of medicine, the one she demanded her way up the phone chain to speak to, didn't change things. We were on our own. Mom spent all her time in the living room with Dad. I'd help her wash him, try and make him eat, talk to him when she'd tire out and fall asleep on the rug. Every day of this routine brought with it new changes in Dad's body. It started with his limbs. As you can probably guess, when his hands and feet fell off, there was no blood. They flaked apart, crusty and dry and brittle throughout. Even the bones of his toes and fingers had the density and consistency of dead skin. The wrists and ankles they left behind were smooth and hard. It was difficult to tell whether we were looking at flesh or exposed bone. The dark, shining surface seemed to blend into his normal arm at the base of the stumps. This discoloration would rise further up his limbs daily. And before long, I awoke to see Dad's head and torso fused to the wooden chair legs supporting my weight while I write this. Well, I use the term Dad's head and torso in the loosest possible sense. By the time his limbs were completely replaced, the rest of him undergone a slow, harrowing transformation of its own. His shoulders and the arms attached to them descended lower and lower. They found their final resting place at Dad's pelvis, sat squarely behind his rigid legs. The chest area they'd left behind had its own problems. Day by day, Dad's neck retracted further inwards. It didn't stop when his jaw met collarbone either. It pulled Dad's head down deep into his ribcage. His face flattened as the skull supporting it sank, forcing his eyes to point in opposite directions. Eventually, they slid down to where his nipples once lay, resting glassy and vacant on his pecs. The change wasn't quick enough to break his jaw, though. Instead, it bent outwards, its hinges spreading wide across Dad's broad chest. Each morning, I'd find Mom sobbing over a fresh, unnecessary piece of himself he discarded. Hair, eyes, nose, his thingy, all of them had flaked off and crumbled into dust in her hands. He lost the ability to speak as his head withdrew. Unsurprising though, right? He made his intentions clear before he went. The last words he ever said to me: "Don't cry. I am Chair. Always was Chair. Happy as Chair." That was the worst part, I think. Knowing that whatever the fuck was happening to Dad, he wasn't resisting. That when he got the initial urge to sit in the corner and not get up, he didn't fight it. That he was happy this way. The implications being that when he was human, when he was a father, a husband, an accountant, he wasn't. Sadly, I still don't know why or how Dad became a chair. I don't post any photos. You see, Mom wouldn't let me. Didn't want the embarrassments. Wanted to keep Dad's dignity intact. Thing is, I agree with her. And kind of still do. I'm glad I didn't go to social media with pics of Dad at various stages of his journey. The temptation was there to see if anyone could help. Nobody could have, though. Could they? Dad would have become just another internet circus freak. I've done enough research and digging over the months to know that whatever happened to Dad, he's the only one. Almost the only one. Mom's own changes started around the time Dad's skin was rethreading into orange fabric. His eyes had hardened into plastic buttons. Her changes was a little different. It started in her torso, stretching her day by day, while she remained in crab pose. I must say, she makes a great couch. Her transformation may have been a little more distressing, but the end result is better. Sorry, Dad. It is what it is. I think the worst part with Mom was the despondency. Dad was so serene as he changed. Mom, though, Mom wouldn't stop weeping. Quiet sobs. Tears that fell for a few days, even after her own eyes had become flat plastic. She wasn't crying because of the changes, though. I think it was because she wouldn't get to see me and how beautiful I'll look when I go through my own metamorphosis. Thing is, I get it now. Dad was right. He was chair. Mom was couch. I am coffee table. I always was. I was scared at first when I realized the truth hit me like a piano dropped from the Empire State Building. I was scrubbing the last of Mom's remaining human skin when it struck through every bone in my wrong body. Just as it must have done for both Mom and Dad. I spent the whole night sitting on Dad, tears falling down my cheeks, staring at my spot. I didn't want it to be true. I screamed for it not to be true. More than once, I couldn't deny the fact. I knew deep down to my bones, though. That spot, the space on the rug in front of chair Dad and couch Mom, is for me. It's mine, where I belong. Unlike blissfully accepting Dad and weeping, resigning Mom, I fought it for a few days. I'm not like them. I'm only 17. I have had dreams, ambitions, goals. I wanted to go to college, settle down, marry some lucky guy, be a mom. I wasn't ready to give up my human form. I spent my nights begging for more time. Nothing answered. The urges didn't abate. My awareness of reality now, the illusions had been swept away, was too great. When I have slept this last week or so, my dreams have always been the same. I dreamt of true reality, of how I know things should be. I dream of me in my place, body elongated and wooden and flat, as is right, as is correct, as is natural. I have long, blissful slumbers. Please keep us together if you can. We're set. Dad's sick leave ended months ago. As you can imagine, the foreclosure notice have been piling up. I stopped caring about the piles of mail under the door and around the time that Mom's ribcage split and flattened into her wide pinstripe velvet upholstered back. I haven't been hungry days or thirsty. I'm not even sure if I'm breathing now. I think about it. I'm still scared, but I've come to accept this. And this is the way things have to be. I don't know why. They just do. Maybe it's a curse. Maybe this house is buried on some ancient ritual site. Maybe it's just some freak anomaly of physics. Who knows? Whatever the reason, I have to suck it up and accept the way things are. This is my body. This walking, wobbling mass of skin and bone and ghibli bits that I love so much isn't right. It isn't mine. I'm not meant for it anymore. Once I post this and print the copy for the removal guys, I'm going to my spot. Then it's just a case of closing my eyes and waiting. I can already feel my limbs pulling inward, my thighs, my upper arms sliding to where they'll meet at my navel in a few days. There's a tugging on the back of my knees where they'll bend in on themselves, and all 20 of my fingers and toes grow number each hour that passes. Do I have any regrets? Thousands. There's so much I'll never get to do, to see, to go, to be. I can't hide from the truth though, not anymore. I am coffee table. Thank you for listening to tonight's story by Toucan the Rapper on Reddit. It's quite the interesting one, and so far it is my longest video yet. Well, yeah, technically. But, yeah, if you enjoyed the video, leave a like, subscribe, it's gonna help out. And, it's gonna be highly appreciated by me. So, yeah. I hope you have a good day or night, whatever time it is for you. And, yeah, that's all from me today. See you in the next one. Bye.